Maturim Goshtvat Radha Kundamagirivaram Oh Radhika Madhvasam Prapto Yas Patita Kripaya Sri Guru Tam Natosmi Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Hemabhadevyaschavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshe Chivastu Kamari Lankamadi Kripa Mahitvam Shanam Prapanna Vrindenu Mase Charanaravindam Vrindenu Mase Charanaravindam Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Hey Krishna Hey Yadava Hey Saketi Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Sham Sundar Shikanda Shikanda Smarahas Murli Manora Radhikarsaka Mama Kripanidhe Supyucharna King Kurim Kuru Tavaivasmi Na Jivami Tayavana Iti Vikyaya Devi Tam Namam Charantikam. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmaddeya Paramaradhatama Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupada, Ashtotara Satasvi Rupanugacharya Varya, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev and to Srila Prabhupada and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakalpatarubhasa, Kripa Sindhubhyavata, Putitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. 47:29. By the cautious mercy of Sri Guran Koranga, we have been discussing the very beautiful Sat Sandarbha presented by Srila Jiva Goswami Pad. This morning we began the fourth Sandarbha, which is the final installment on the subject of Sambandha Gyan, that is Krishna Sandarbha. And we discussed how Krishna's Leela has two types: Prakat, manifested in this world, and Aprakat, unmanifest Leela. And the Aprakat Lila has two types, Mantrupasnamai Lila and Swarasiki Lila. So the goal of our Goswamis is Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutrai, to establish in this world the innermost heart's desire of Mahaprabhu. That is, to reveal the glory of Radhika's Mahabhav and to distribute her service in the Swarasiki Lila, Nitya Lila, 24 hours a day service to Srimati Radhika. We see that the Acharya of Sambandha Gyan, Srila Sanatana Goswami, at the end of his Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he has given Bhakti Rasayan. It's a selection of verses, almost all from Srimad Bhagavatam. And these verses are for the Mantramayi Upasana, for the devotees, who, for them, the attraction of Maya has been destroyed. But they have not attained yet complete absorption in the divine realm. So just like a person who was sick recovers from their illness, but still they're not fully strong, so then they have to take a tonic. So tonic is Rasayana. So Bhakti Rasayana is a tonic. Those who are not sick anymore with the Bhava Rog, the disease of material existence, but their spiritual health is not fully manifest. So for them there is Bhakti Rasayana. So this Bhakti Rasayana has verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. For that devotee, he can meditate on one verse, by which it will be revealed to him one scene, in one place, one location, with Krishna and one particular group of associates, and so on. So, but you should know that this Mantramayi Upasana is not the goal of Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami and the others that they have to give. But rather you should see it that these are the steps leading to Swarasiki Upasana. Understand? This is a very big mistake. Many persons not having guidance of realized Vaishnavas, they try to remember the Swarasiki Lila, Astakaliya Lila. But our Acharya of Sambandha Gyan, Srila Sanatana Goswami, has shown how one can come to there by these steps. You see, the realization that comes from each of the verses of Bhakti Rasayan is like a flower. And as the devotee is chanting and remembering, then by the grace of Guru, by the grace of Yogamaya, then these flowers of realization of the Mantrupasnamaya Lila Pit are coming in his heart. And when he's collected so many flowers, then gradually, by the grace of Yogamaya, all these flowers will come together and be strung into a garland. And in this way, his Mantramayi Upasana will turn into Swarasiki Upasana. Understand? So, it is with this intention that Srila Sanatana Goswami Pad has written Brihad Bhagavatamrita to establish us in Sambandha Gyan. Now, this morning we discussed how Srila Jiva Goswami here in Krishna Sandarbha, he's giving the examples of Prakat and Aprakat Lila from Srimad Bhagavatam. There it is not expressed openly. Because Raso Gupta Eva Rasatvama Padyate, Rasa should be hidden. If it's open, it's not relishable. And if Rasa is hidden, Parakshamma Machapriyam, there's indirect explanation. It's very dear to Krishna. And the rasa which is hidden becomes very, very relishable. So we gave some examples of the prakat and aprakat lila. Who can remember? Remember? Yes. When Uddhava was coming to Vrindavan, he saw how beautiful it was. How the cows were mooing and milk was flowing and the bulls were fighting with each other. Everyone was churning yogurt and singing. And the next minute it all disappeared and he saw all the trees are dying. The cows look like they're starving and lying on the ground. The peacocks are not dancing. The bumblebees are rolling in the dust and crying. They have given up the flowers. And all are burning in separation from Sri Krishna. So Jogamaya showed him aprakat lila for a moment, and then he was back in the prakat lila here. So we discussed how Uddhav, after discussing with Nanda Maharaj the whole night, the next morning he saw a light in the forest and he followed that light. And there he met with Braja Gopis, and among them Shrimati Radhika. He saw Radhika's ecstasies of Mahabhav. Oh, the Sattvic bhavs. She became so distorted by intense bhavs, even her Sakis couldn't recognize her. And all fainted, everyone fainted. And afterwards, Uddhav prayed, Virahena Mahabhaga Mahanmaya Anugrahakita. Oh, Gopis, you are so merciful to me. Because by showing me your separation, you have given great mercy to me. But Gopis are not thinking, oh, Uddhav, come, let's show him separation. They have no idea. They are only really in separation. But Krishna has sent Uddhav to see this. Because Uddhav was thinking, oh, in the Mathura, I am the very nearest and dearest devotee of Krishna. Vrishninam pravaro mantri Krishnasya daitasaka sasyo shisyo brihaspati sakshad uddhavo buddhi saptama. He's the best among the Vrishni dynasty. Even Krishna himself has said, Uddhavom vapiman, you should know that Uddhav is not even slightly atomically less than myself. Is Krishna lying? No, it's true. But in what way it's true? We'll discover today. We cannot jump there. This path is a long path and very crooked. But we can arrive there in the anugatya of our Guru Varga. So, the gopis put down one asana for Uddhav to sit down. And they put another asana. And then taking Krishna's garland that Krishna has given to Uddhav, they held it by the nose of Radhika. Said, oh, Krishna has returned. And in this way, Radhika was tricked into coming back to external consciousness. In this way, the very clever, tricky Sakis, they brought Radhika back to consciousness and invited her to sit. And they're all eager to hear from Uddhav. What is Krishna's message of love? So, we began to discuss the first verse sent by Krishna that Uddhav was reading to Braja Gopis. Bhavati nam viyogo me nahi saravatmana kvichit. Your separation from me, Krishna is saying, oh Gopis, your separation from me is never possible, saravatmana, in a complete sense, in an absolute sense. So here, sarvatmana, here atma means Krishna is himself Krishna. But he is present in many places, in different dimensions, in prakat and aprakat lila. So here atmana means you can never be separated from me, sarvatmana, in every prakash. So in this prakash, you may say, I have gone to Mathura. But in aprakat prakash, then we are together eternally, and I never leave you. This is one meaning. So, this is completely true. Why? How do we know that Krishna is not just cheating them? That he's not coming back to Vrindavan and he's just sending, we can never be separated. Somewhere in another prakash, we are together. No. Krishna's words are fully true. And the praman is, if the gopis and Krishna were not together somewhere, then how would these gopis in the prakat prakash be alive? Because Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has cried in the mood of Radharani. Akaitava Krishna prema Jino Jambu Nadahemo Sei prema nilo Kena Yadi Haya Thara Yoga Nahayata Baby Yoga Viyoga Hoi Keo Najiyai. Radharani, in separation from Krishna, when he went to Mathura, she said to her Sakhis, Akaitava Krishna Prem, love which is pure, which has no, it is akaitava, it has no kritava, cheating in it. That means not loving the person for your own happiness, but loving them only for their happiness. So pure akaitava Krishna Prem, Jainu Jambu Nadhem, is like the gold from the Jambu Nad. That means in the heavenly planets, there are mango trees which are thousands of miles high. And when the mangoes fall from those trees in the heavenly planets, huge, they go and they splat. And all the juice sprays out of them. And the juice begins to flow and makes a river. That's called Jambu Nad. And as the waves of this river are washing up on the shore, it mixes with the dust in the heavenly planet. And when it dries, it turns into gold. Pure gold. In this world we have 24 karat gold is completely pure. But this gold is more than that. 25, 26 karat. It is impossible. But that type of gold from heaven, Radharani says, Say prema nriloke nahai. Just like that gold from heaven, it's not available in this world. If you go downtown, there's one jeweler and he's selling, I have some Jambu Nadhem, some gold for you. It's not true. Because it's simply not available here. So in the same way, Radharani is saying, in this world, there's no pure love. Why? Because if two persons meet and they really have such love for each other, then they could never be separated. Why? Because love is powerful. More powerful than fate. Love is more powerful than destiny. But what do we see in this world? If anyone meets with anyone else and they so-called fall in love, but after some time, they must be separated. Or, Radhika said, hypothetically, if two persons were to have such love, and somehow or other they were separated, then viyog hoile keo najiyai, then they would not be able to live. Both of them would immediately pass away. And so again, it's not possible for such love to be in this, whichever way you look at it. If it is, it's not in this world. And if it were, then it couldn't be. So, and Radhika, she's saying this out of humility. in reference to herself. I am the one who has no love. Na prema gandosti turapameharo krandami sobhagya param prakashitam Bangsi vilasanana lokanam bina vibhami tat prana patanga kambrita. Radhika said, Na prema gandosmi. I have no love, what to speak of actual substantial love, even the fragrance of love. From far away, I don't know it. What the fragrance is like from a distance. The Sakhi said, why are you crying all the time? Oh, that's just for show. I'm making a show of my good fortune. But the proof that I have no love is this. That a fish loves water. If you take the fish out of the water, it will flap around in great anxiety and then pass away. But what is my condition? Bangsi bilasanana lokanam bina. Without seeing Banksiwali, see Krishna, holding the flute to his beautiful lips and playing. But still, I am staying alive. So this is the proof that I have no love. Babhami, tat prana patanga kambrita. Why am I staying alive? Why am I holding on to my pran? My pran is like a patanga, like an insect biting me. Being alive is just suffering. But still I won't let my pran go. So I am living just like as an insect is living his life with no purpose. So I am like that. Useless. Why am I staying alive? Because those senses which are not serving Krishna, they are like blocks of wood or a block of iron. They have no life, they are useless. But I am not serving Krishna. Those eyes that are not looking at the beautiful form of Krishna, they're like the eyes on a peacock feather, useless. If a person doesn't look at Krishna, then fire on that person, a thunderbolt should crash on his head. And he should be finished in a second. What's the use of being alive? The ears that cannot hear the sweet words coming from the lips of Sri Krishna, they're like the hole in a conch shell. You know, your ear is a bit like a conch shell, isn't it? But the conch shell cannot hear anything. So what is the use of staying alive? Radharani is weeping and saying, actually, I never really saw Krishna. Understand, what is this anurag? Love of Radhika. Milit milita milavo chahe milimilane ki bhool milaras kabhara prema so pratichina bharata pool. When Radha and Krishna meet, they have such thirst to see each other, to serve each other, that even though they're meeting, they feel as if they're not meeting. Even though they're meeting, they forget that they have met. At each moment they forget the last moment. The thirst is so intense and it's increasing all the time. So Radhika said, Ye kale barswapane Dekhidu bangsi badane Sei kale aila dui vai Ananda aramada Hari nila morma Dekite na painu netrapari. Oh Sakhi, whether I was awake or whether it was in a dream, whenever Krishna came before me, then at once two enemies blocked my vision of him. One was Ananda, the joy of seeing him. And the other was Cupid, Madan, Kamdev. And the two of them at once stole my heart. And I became senseless. And so I never had the chance to fill my eyes with Sri Krishna's beauty. Saundaryamrita sindhu bangalalana chittati samplavaka kana nandi sanarma ramya vachanako tindu sitangika saurabhyamrita samprabhavata vijigat piyusha ramyadara Sri Gopendra sutasa kashti balat panchindriyanya lime. When Radhika sees Krishna, then she says, oh, his beauty is like an ocean. And just as sometimes a big tidal wave comes and there's a flood over the land. But actually, that tidal wave never goes over the top of the Himalayan mountains. But Radhika says the chitta, the consciousness of Braj Gopis is so high and purified like the Himalayan mountains. But when they see Krishna, it's like the ocean of nectar has come. Oh, the Himalayas went underneath the ocean. This is Krishna's Saundaryamrita. The waves. His beauty is an ocean of nectar and it's not still. It has waves. The beauty is moving. Kori Jalamala. So Chittadi Samplavaka Karna Nandi Nama Ramya Vachana, and the way he speaks, always with so many jokes. It is nectar for the ears. And Krishna's touch is more cooling than 10 million moons. If anyone's body has not been touched by the hand of Krishna, oh, they are a dead body. They have never experienced any happiness at all. Saurabhyamrita. And his fragrance, which is like the mixture of the fragrance of a blue lotus with the chandan, sandal, and agur, oud, agur, and karpur, and kumkum, chatusama, all mixed together with the blue lotus. His natural fragrance is more beautiful than that. What's the use of a person who has never smelled Krishna's fragrance? His nose is like the nose of a frog. And the nectar of his lips, it is indescribable. So when Radhika sees Krishna, all 5 of her senses, they are spontaneously drawn toward Krishna by force. And just like if there's one horse and 5 people are riding the horse and trying to ride the horse in 5 different directions, so then the horse just collapses. So at the same time, the mind of Radhika, being pulled by her 5 senses in 5 directions at once, cannot cope, and Radhika faints. So Radhika said, I never really saw him. Whenever he came in front of me, I became overwhelmed with Ananda. And Madan. And the two of them, they stole my consciousness. So you can say, oh, no, but we have heard Radhika is meeting with Krishna and discussing with him. Then, why? Because her anurag becomes tirobhav. So her identity of who she is, on that level, Radhika, she goes to another, becomes like Shakshitva, a witness of her own. What's going on? And Adirodha again. So even though it looks like the Leela, what she's saying is still true. I never saw him. Madan came, stole my heart. And Ananda, the two of them, they robbed me. So I've never seen him. So Radhika, she thinks, if Krishna, one day, if he were to come back to Vrindavan from Mathura, then if he would just come back for just one moment, then those seconds or fractions of a second, I would decorate them with garlands, each fraction of a second. I would be so grateful, I would say thank you and give each fraction of a second a garland and decorate them with sandalwood pulp and also with jewels. Huh? This is the Radhika's eagerness to serve Shri Krishna. So, in the same verse, where we're still on verse, yes, it's this one. We have been discussing, Nahi savatmana kotit. Oh gopis, you can never be separated from me. Sarvatma, in all respects, that means in every prakash. Because in that separation, it is not just that in another aprakat lila, that Radha Krishna are together. But even in this lila, right now, when Radhika faints in separation, then she's meeting with Sri Krishna. Even when sometimes she sees with her eyes open, and she sees that Krishna has come. So now Krishna is explaining this. Yatha bhutani bhuteshu kam vaivagne jalam mahi taha amcha mana prana bhutendriya gunashraya. Now all of Krishna's words just sound like some philosophy. Yatha bhutani bhuteshu. It is like what? Chatusloki Bhagavatam. Second canto, chapter 9, there are 4 verses, which is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses. And the third verse, Yata mahanti bhutani bhutesu chavacheshanu pravistana pratistani tateshu nateshvaham. Just as the elements enter into all objects and remain outside of them, so similarly I am inside and outside of everything. Chatusloki Bhagavatam. But how wonderful it is that Krishna's love letter to Braj Gopis is saying the same. Yata bhutani bhuteshu kama. What does it mean? It means that the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam expressed there in that verse of Chatusloki Bhagavatam is Gopis Prem. This is actually a description of Prem. The analogy of the elements is just an analogy to illustrate Prem. So in this case, Krishna is saying, you are never separated from me. Why? Because just as all the elements enter into the objects, so the objects can never be separated from the elements. So similarly, I am the shelter of you, your body, your mind, your pran, everything. You know, if you make a clay pot, can the clay pot ever be separated from the earth? No, because it's made of earth. So in the same way, from the metaphysical ontological sense, no one can be separated from Bhagavan. Why? Because even our bodies, our pran, everything is made of elements. And according to Vedanta Sutra, Janma Jasya Yatanvayad Anvaya means that God is also the ingredient cause of creation. So the very foundation of our existence, everything, is God. We cannot ever be separated from Him. So, but this is not what Krishna is saying here. See, Krishna is saying that, oh gopis, you can never be separated from me. I am the foundation of your bodies, the foundation of your senses. I am the foundation of your pran. I am the foundation of your mind because of your intense love for me. That is that unless I were not living inside your bodies, inside your senses at every moment, then you could not stay alive. So this is not about, oh, we are together in another prakash. Krishna is saying, we are together right now. You know, Lord Brahma prayed, Tad bhuri bhagyamiya janma kimapyatavyam yad gokulepi katamangi rajobhishekam yad jivitam tu bhagavan nikila bhagavan makundas tadyapi yad patad rajasuti mrigyameva. Oh, Lord Brahma said, I would be very fortunate if I could take birth anywhere in Braja. Even perhaps not in the Vrindavan side, on the other side of Jamuna, in Gokul even. If I could become even a stone there, I would be fortunate. Because then I could get foot dust from Brijbasis. If one sweeper lady has been sweeping the streets and before she goes into a house, she has to scrape the dirt off her feet. Then if I were a stone outside her house, she should clean her feet on my head and then I would be very fortunate. Lord Brahma is saying. Why? Because these Brijbasis, Yas Jivitam tu Nikilam Bhagavan Mukunda. That Mukunda Krishna is living, they are Jivita by him. He's living in all of their senses. And how is Sri Krishna present in all the senses? How is Krishna present in all the senses of Braja Gopis? In his beautiful Shama Sundara form. Decorated with a peacock feather, playing a flute, smiling and asking, oh, how can I serve you? So Krishna is saying here, your love for me is such that I am at every moment living in all of your senses, in all of your pran, and only waiting to serve you. Oh Gopis, you know this. Why? Because when I disappeared from the Rasalila, then you were all weeping and you said, Jayati te dikha janmana braja Shayato yandira Shashwadatrahi Taita Drishyatam Vikshutavakas Tvairita Shuvas Tvamichinvate. What does it mean? Daita Drishyatam Dikshutavakas. Oh, Daita, my beloved, we have been searching for you everywhere. Please show yourself to us. Tvai Dritat Shavas. Ashava means pran. Tvai, our prans are living only in you. You know, for an ordinary person, they have pran, and the pran becomes the powers of the senses. 10 senses. And the living entity is using this pran for karma, his own benefit. But Gopis are saying, Tvai Dita Shavas. All of our prans moving in 72,000 nadis. So many very fine prans going everywhere, like a chamar. You know, this is the meaning of chamar. When you find out what the chamar means, oh Radhika, I am serving you with all my nadis. Okay, fine. So Gopis are saying, Tvai Dita Shavas. Our pran is completely in you. That means that every breath, every movement, you know, pran is moving your eyelids, your breathing, your conscious, volitional and non-volitional activities are all done by pran. And Gopis is saying, our pran is just living in you. That's all. We don't do anything. Gopis don't do anything for themselves. This is in the first verse of Gopi Geet. And in the last verse, Yate sujata charanam buruham staneshu Bihitashanai priyadadi mahikakasheshu Tenatu vimmatasita byatatena kimsvit Kurpari bi prabhati bhavad ayu samnaha. Radhika said, oh, when I hold your lotus feet on my heart, then I place your feet there very, very slowly, because I think your soft lotus feet, they may be injured by the harshness, by the roughness of my breast. Now you are wandering barefoot in the forest. What will happen if you step on a sharp stone? We cannot stay alive. So Bhavadayu Shamnaha. Bhavad means yours. Ayusham, and Ayu means our lifespan, our pran. How we staying alive? It is yours. So this is the meaning when Sri Krishna says Yatamahanti Bhutani. I am never separated from you, because with all your prans you are absorbed in me, and I am living inside all of your prans and serving you. So not only in Aprakat Lila, but even here in Prakat Lila, we can never be separated. So Krishna is saying, your own anubhuti, your own realization is the praman. Sometimes Radhika is sitting in the forest and she became happy. Lalita and Vishaka are thinking, what happened to Radhika? Krishna has gone to Mathura and she's happy. Why? Because she has Udgirna, state of total confusion. And she's thinking that Krishna is still in Vrindavan. And she's making a garland for Krishna. Thinking, oh, Krishna will come soon. And making a garland for him. Then the next moment she realizes, oh, Krishna is not coming. And she's crying. And then she feels two hands. Oh, who is there? Lalita, Vishaka, is that you? And then Krishna jumps in front of her. No, it's me. Oh, why did you leave me? And Krishna's taking his pitambar and wiping away Radhika's tears. I'll never leave you. And then Radhika reaches out to embrace him and closes her eyes, but no one is there. So Krishna is saying, Yata Mahanti Bhutani, I am always with you. You have to trust your own anubhav. You are realizing it. But then afterwards, when this purti has disappeared, then you don't believe it. So then, next verse. 10:47-30. Atmanevatmanatmanam srijehanyanupalayi atmamayanubhavena bhutendriya gunatmana. So many atmas. Atmani eva atmanatmanam. There's three atmas in the first line. Atmamayanubhavena bhutendriya gunatmana. 5 times Krishna speaks about Atma in this verse. So Krishna is saying, I myself, Atma, I myself, I create, I sustain, and I dissolve. All the elements, all the universes within myself, by myself. So, and I do it by my own energy. What kind of love letter is this? Gopis are listening. Uddhav, are you sure that's what it says? Look again. But read something else. Is there something better? But Krishna knew that the first time hearing it, they would not understand. So Krishna said, you have to read it, each message 3 times. And by the 3rd time, they may understand. They think, Krishna is Rasik, he couldn't be saying something so dry. Dry tattvas. How is it possible? Oh Saki, there must be another meaning in it. What is he saying? So then they realized what Krishna is saying here. Now the key word in this verse is in the 2nd line. Srijay means create. Hanmi. Hanmi means, actually it has 3 meanings. It can mean to go, to kill, or destroy. And of these 3 meanings, the strongest meaning or the most common meaning, is to kill. So, I create the universes, and then I kill them. Yes, very tender, loving words. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is a Rasa Shastra. And generally, in poetry, you should not use harsh words. If there's a harsh words, if one uses the harsh words, then this is a fault. And it is called Ras Apakarshaka Dosh. That means that if the hearers, they hear it, and it gives them some disgust or some pain and so on, then this is or it makes them shy or inauspicious. It makes them feel inauspicious. So then there's a dosh, there's a fault in the poetry. And the fault is caused by ashlila. Ashlila means coarse language. Coarse language, gross language. So if you are speaking very tenderly to someone, very lovingly, you say, I kill the whole universe. Then this is ashlila. This is very coarse language, and it makes the dosh, the defect in rasa. However, this is in rasa, there's some room for harsh language if it's an expression of love. An example is given in the 3rd canto, chapter 16, verse 6. There's the history of when, the 4 Kumaras came to the gates of Vaikuntha and giant Vijay stopped them. They wouldn't let them in. And then there was an argument. And the 4 Kumaras cursed giant Vijay. Just then, the Supreme Lord Narayan, he arrived there. And he spoke so sweetly, because the 4 Kumaras are Brahmanas. And now they've also realized, before they're absorbed in Brahman. But now they've realized his personal swarup. So they're very, very much worthy of honor. So then the Supreme Lord starts to glorify them. Oh, I don't relish the ghee offered in yagyas to me as much as I relish that ghee which is offered in the preparations. If someone cooks very delicious preparation soaked in ghee and gives it to a Brahmin, and when the Brahmin eats it, then I relish this more than the offerings in a fire sacrifice of ghee. So at that time the Supreme Lord said to them that actually now you have realized me completely. I am so indebted to you that chindyam swabhuham apiva partikula vrittim. You can see in the last line, chindyam swabhuham apiva partikula vrittim. He's saying that if my arm were to offend you, then I would not hesitate to cut off my own arm. Right? So to say I'll cut off my own arm is the ashlila, very coarse language. But because he's saying it as an expression, oh, you are so dear to me that I cannot tolerate any problem for you. If my own arm gives you a problem, I'll cut it off. So then it's accepted by those who are rasik, because it's an expression of love. So here, coming back to the verse that Krishna is speaking to the Braj Gopis, 10:47-30. Sujayhan mi anupalaye. I create, maintain, and I kill, I destroy the universes. So, the meaning here is that Krishna is speaking about his prakat and aprakat leelas. The aprakat leela is going on always in Goloka Vrindavan. And Srijati, from there he sends forth in Braj, on Bauma Vrindavan. He manifests his Leela. Or in so many universes also. And he maintains that there for some time. And then he kills it. That means that those Prakat Leelas blend back into the Aprakat Leela. And so by this, he's giving a guarantee to the Brajagopis that, oh, very soon, we'll be together again. Why? Because I create, maintain and destroy. That means my Leelas are eternally existing. From this the Prakat Leelas come and they enter back into the Aprakat Leela again. This is actually the real meaning of Sri Upanishad. Om Purnam Adaha Punamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Punamadaya Punameva Vasishyate. The Aprakat Leela of Radha Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan is complete. And from this, so many Prakat Leelas manifest in many universes. And at the end of the Leela, then the two Leelas become one. Just as Krishna said to Uddhav, Tannavidanmai anusanga badha Diya somatmanam atastatedam Yatha samado muni abditaye nadya pravista eva nama rupe. Krishna said, hey Uddhav, the gopis are so absorbed in me. Their whole consciousness has become like a kamadhenu. Their buddhi, their intelligence became like a kamadhenu, a wish-fulfilling cow. So the wish-fulfilling cow does nothing except for fulfill the wishes of whoever approaches. So the gopis' intelligence is only existing to fulfill all my wishes. Their love is like that. And Yatha samado munyobditaye nadya pravishta eva nama rupe. And the Braj Gopis, they're so absorbed in love with me that just like a rishi is in samadhi, and when he goes into samadhi, he forgets everything. His own name and form, everything he forgets. Or just as a river has a name and a form, but when it enters into the ocean, we just call it the ocean. So, in the same way, the Braja Gopis have one form, for example, in the Aprakat Leela, and another form in the Prakat Leela. And when I finish this Prakat Leela, then it's not that the gopis have no names and forms, but the names of forms of the gopis in the Prakat Leela become one with the names and forms of the gopis in the Aprakat Leela. Like this. Understand? So this is the meaning of this verse. Oh gopis, don't be disturbed. Just wait. Very soon, Krishna, he comes back to Vrindavan and meets with them, and then this Prakat Leela becomes one with the Aprakat Leela. So then, text 31. Atma jnana maya suddho vyatiriktu gunan vayaha shushupti swapa jagradbhi maya vritibhi iyate. Oh, amazing. So then, the gopis, they say, but Krishna, we know that you are playing in Mathura, in a visible form, and you have sent this letter to us. But how is it? How are we to believe that you are also playing with us here in Vrindavan right now? So, when Krishna was writing the last message, he kind of guessed, but this is the gopis are going to argue with me. And ask this question. He was anticipating that they would think this. So then, he wrote another message. And that is this message. So, the message here is, oh gopis, the soul is Gyanmaya. The soul is made of pure consciousness. And so the soul is distinct from everything material. And the soul is never really involved in this world of matter and changeable things. And you can intuit the existence of your own soul by the three functions of the gunas: Jagrat, Swapti and Sushupta. Swapna and Sushupta. That means wakefulness, dreaming and deep sleep. So, you know that the Hansa avatar, also he gave this teaching to the 4 Kumaras. You have to understand that the Jiva, yourself, you are distinct from anything material. And you can understand it Shakshittvena Vinishtitaha, by the fact that you are a Shakshi, a witness. So that means that when you are awake, your body and senses are functioning. That is caused by predominance of Sattva Gun. Then when Rajas comes, you go to sleep and you dream. At that time, you leave your body. It is lying there on the bed and you forget about it completely. But your mind and senses are still functioning in the dream. So you are not that body. Because now you are still existing and functioning everything, even without the gross physical body. But then when you go into Shushupti, deep sleep, you also give up that subtle body, and then there's no experience at all. There's no alamban. That means it's not that you're unconscious, but you are not conscious of anything. There's no alamban, no object for your consciousness to experience. So the fact that you give up the gross body and the subtle body, the ego and everything, means that you are none of those things, but you are the Shakshi, the witness of these changing states. How these states are changing all the time. So by this you can identify that you are not the body or mind, the gross or subtle body. You are Atma, the witness. So Krishna is saying this, very good Siddhanta, like Hamsa Avatar teaching the 4 Kumaras. Is it appropriate for Krishna to give such instructions to his beloveds? So this verse is in connection to the previous verse. When Krishna said, look, your own anubhav, your own realization is the praman that I am with you. Your prans, everything are absorbed in me. If I were not there, you would not be alive. And when you are absorbed in remembering, you see me. And now Krishna is saying a wonderful thing about gopis praying. You see, when you are awake, then you see things. Then when you're in a dream, then you experience the samskars, memories. If you do any, you break, we follow very strictly 4 regulative principles. But if in your dream you break those principles, it's because the samskar, the impression of that activity is still there in your chitta and it's coming up in the dream. You see? You would not do that while you're awake because your buddhi is functioning. But when you go into dream, then your intelligence, your discrimination is very weak and not working. So you would do things that you would not do while you're awake, under the impression of those impressions. So when a person is more purified, then even in their dreams, they don't do any illicit activity, any adharma, even in their dreams. This is the sign the sanskars are being all cleaned away. But a person who, when they go into deep sleep, then there's no experience of anything at all. Because there's no alamban, there's no object for the consciousness to experience. Here Sri Krishna is saying, oh my dear gopis, your anubhav is the proof. What type of love you have for me? Because when you are awake, then sometimes you see me in a spurti, in a vision. And when you are asleep, then sometimes you see me in a dream. And when you go into deep sleep, the Vaishishta, this extraordinary speciality of the gopis' love, is that the gopis even have spurtis of Krishna in Shushupti. Can you imagine? How dense is this prem? How deep is this love? that Krishna is saying, you should trust your own anubhav, even in Shushupti, you have my darshan. You have the spurti and meet with me. So astonishing. So then, 32, verse 32. Now Sri Krishna is saying, Yanendriyatam dhyayeta Misha swapnavad uttita tan nirundyat indriyani vinidra pratyapadyata. Then gopis. When Krishna was writing the last message, he was thinking, but the gopis are very argumentative. And they may say, oh, but Krishna, in spite of what you have just said, but alright, if we put some trust in our anubhav, in our realizations, in these spurtis that we're having, but still, we become overpowered by feelings of separation. So what should we do? So anticipating this question. So then, see, Krishna begins to give some instructions. Before he was explaining some Sankhya philosophy. And now we'll explain Yoga Darshan. The teachings of the Yoga Shastras. See, Krishna said, Yenindriyatan dhyayeta misha swapnavadutita. The meaning is, if you can somehow restrain the mental impressions of being separated from me, then naturally the awareness of your always being with me will arise of its own accord. This is essentially what he's saying. The actual exact words he's saying is that just as a person who has just woke up from sleep may continue to meditate on what happened in the dream. Right? Let's say you had a bad dream and you're just waking up and your mind is thinking, oh, ooh, something spooky. Something frightening was there, and that impression is still there in the mind. What do? Then you don't meditate on that. You send your mind out into the world and you think about, what will I have for breakfast? Right? You start to think about your life outside of that dream. And as you send your consciousness out into the objects of the world, then the impression of the dream fades away. And then it's gone and you forget it. Right? This is the process of waking up and overcoming the memories of the dream experience. And as you begin to meditate now on objects in the external world, then you finally arrive and you are there at breakfast prasadam. You see? So you understand, those are the stages. First you are having the bad dream. Then you wake up, but the impressions of the bad dream are still in your mind. So what you do, you stop your mind from thinking about this and focus in on what you want. And then gradually, this disappears and what you want, it comes to you, you get it. So this is what the yogis do. Krishna is explaining this. This is a yoga process. Because the yogi, every day, is meditating. And to a certain degree, actually, this really also applies to us. How it happens. Though our practice is different, but there are certain principles which are same in our devotional life. Let's say the yogi is meditating and he goes into samadhi. Sampragyata samadhi. Then he gets some impressions of what it was like in samadhi. And then he comes out into the material world, into his external consciousness. Now he's got two sets of samskars in his mind. The samskar of the physical world and the samskars of what is beyond this world. And what he has to do is practice every day, so the samskars of the samadhi experience become more and more, and they gradually overpower the samskars of the material experience until he can finally go into a total samadhi. So, then the yogi, he's thinking in this way. When he has many samadhi experiences, he's thinking, oh, this material world, it's like a bad dream. So I'll not meditate on that. I'm always going to meditate on my samadhi experiences. And as every day he's meditating more and more on the samadhi experiences, then the external experiences are becoming weak, and then they disappear, and then he's fully Atmaramas Chamunayo Negranta Apyurukrame. By the mercy of a pure devotee, he will become a devotee also. But first he becomes Atmaram, and then he can have a chance to enter into bhakti. So our sadhana is also like this. You have to sit without moving every day and chant hours and hours every day. Little realization will come. After some time more. And each realization will make a samskar. And as these samskars get more and more, then you have to always put your mind in those sanskars. And then the experience of the material world will slowly become weak and disappear, and you will see that you are with Radha Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. This is the process. So what Krishna is saying here to the Braja Gopis are saying, but we get overwhelmed with separation. And Krishna is saying, look, oh, you should be like a yogi. That anubhav, that feeling that you have that you're with me, then focus on that. Don't focus on the fact that I'm in Mathura. Don't, oh, Krishna's in Mathura, alas, alas. Ayi dina dayadranata, hey Mathura nata kadava lokshase. Hridayam tvama loka kataram daita brahmiti kim karomyaham. Oh Mathura Nath, oh Brajanath. Dina Dayadranath, you are very kind to us, but now you've gone to Mathura. My heart is breaking. How can I live without you? What will I do now? Radhika cries in separation like this. So Krishna said, no. Don't focus on that. You focus on those times when you experience me in your heart. Think about that again and again. And gradually this will become prominent. And the sense that I have gone to Mathura will disappear. In other words, you will fully enter into the Aprakat Lila and you will be with me forever. And you'll forget about the Prakat Lila. This is the meaning of this. It is not a yoga instruction. It is Krishna's kindness telling the gopis how they can, that they abhiman. So Prakash Bed, Abhiman Bed. They have a form in the Aprakat Lila where they're always with him. That has one abhiman. And in the Prakat Lila, it has another abhiman. Krishna has left me and gone to Mathura. But by following this instruction, Krishna's message, then Nadya pravishta even nama rupe. Just like a river enters into the ocean, or like a yogi goes into trance, then the gopis' sense of I-ness, her abhiman, her name and her form in the Prakat Lila will merge into the Aprakat Lila, form, name and everything in the Aprakat Lila. Wow. This is what it means when we give Jai to our Parampara. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad. It means that the Abhiman here became one with Abhiman there. And Gurudev went to the Nitya Seva of Radha and Krishna. We are so indebted to Srila Jiva Goswami. If it were not for Srila Jiva Goswami explaining all the deep confidential rasic meanings of Krishna's message, then we would all be very disappointed. Why did Krishna tell all this Tattva Gyan, Sankhya Yoga, everything to gopis? It's very bad. So then, next verse. Krishna, when he was writing the last message, he thought, gopis may still become angry with me. And they may criticize my instructions. They may say, alas, alas, we are in extreme pain, extreme agony of separation from you. Lokatitam ajanda kautikam api Traikalikam yatsukam dukam cheti pitag Yadis putumobait tad te gatsta kutatam. Lord Jiva said that if you get all the suffering in all of the planets, in all of the universes, in all of the past, the present and the future, and you put all that suffering in one big pile, it will not be equal to one drop of the suffering Radhika feels in separation. And also, if you get all the happiness in all the universes, past, present and future, and make a big pile, now you have two piles. That will not be equal to the happiness that Radhika feels. And Radhika actually feels this happiness and distress at the same time. This is the nature of her Adhiruddha Mahabhav. So gopis will say to Krishna, we are suffering extreme agony because of separation from you. And you are being merciful by instructing us how we can attain you. But, okay, you gave us this method, this process. But why don't you just come back? This would be much easier because we're feeling so much pain. All this meditation is difficult. We are village girls. You know, Brahma, Shiva, the four Kumaras, Narad Muni, the Navayogendras, the great masters of mystic yoga. You can tell them to meditate. But we are village girls. Village girls are not famous for their control of the chitta. So why don't you just come back to Vrindavan? Otherwise, we think, if you don't come back and appear before us openly, then this message that you have sent to us, it's just for cheating us. So then, expecting this, that Krishna would say this. So then, Krishna, he wrote another, I have to give another message. Because there's come up with so many arguments. Mat sandesha vimochaya. Oh Uddhav, just don't argue with them, you cannot win. You cannot understand, just repeat my messages. So then, Sri Krishna said this. Yatva ham bhavati nam vai dure vate priyam drisham. No, 34. Manasa sanikarshatam mad anudhyana kamyaya. Oh my dear gopis, I am Priyodarsham, very dear to your eyes. And I am remaining far away from you, so that you can contact me within your minds. Why? The actual reason why I have stayed out of your sight is because I wanted to intensify your meditation on me and draw your minds closer to me. In Suyojal Nilamani, Srila Rupa Goswami has given a verse from Rasa Shastra. Na bina vi pralambe na sambhoga pushtim ashnute. That the joy of meeting, it is not nourished to its highest point without separation. So Krishna is saying, the reason I am staying away is because that separation will increase your absorption in me. And in that there is great joy. And when I return, then the joy will be much more even. So next verse. Yatha durat chare prashte mana vishya vartate strinam nachatata cheta sanikriste kshi gochara. It means, Krishna is saying, when her lover is far away, then a woman thinks of him more than when he's present. In fact, Radhika herself has said, oh, when Krishna is in front of me, I see only one Krishna. But when he's far away, I see Krishnas everywhere. So though she doesn't want separation, but this is a special type of ananda. And Krishna is saying, this is why I am staying away. See, Krishna said, next verse, 36. Maya vesha manakritsnam vimukta shesha bhriktiyat anusmaranti mam nityam achiram mam upaishata. O gopis, because your minds are totally absorbed in me and free from any other engagement, because you remember me always, so very soon, in fact, as soon as you're absorbed, you will reach me without any delay. So, then Krishna gave an example, the next verse, he's illustrating this. Yamaya kridata ratram vanesmin braja astitaha alabda rasa kalyano ma purmadvirya chintaya. Krishna gave an example. On the night of the Rasa Lila, I played my flute at Bangsipat. And ajagmo anyonyama lokshitudyama sayatta kanto javalola kundalaha. Gopis, they dropped everything and they came running through the forest with their earrings. And they arrived there. But some of them, they were trapped in their homes. Their mother-in-laws bolted the door. Their husband stood there with a stick. Don't go out at night. And they could not go. But Dusaha Prastaviraha Ti Pratapa Dutashubha, those gopis who were left in their homes and could not go to the Rasa Lila, they began to burn in a fire of separation. And the next minute they noticed that they had arrived there before the others. So separation, viraha, is separation. Vi means intense, and raha means confidential meeting. So separation is just another type of meeting, which is very intense. So Krishna is reminding gopis, oh, some of you gopis who, you were checked from going, but you found that you came and you met with me. So, Krishna is saying, I stayed far away from you to increase your absorption, and by increasing, then you will realize that you are always with me. Let the samskars from the Prakat Leela become less and less and less, and may you find yourself together with me always in Nitya Leela. So then, 38, Shukadev Goswami is saying, Sri Shuka Uvacha Evam Priyatamadishtam Akarnya Brajayushitaha Ta Uchu Udavam Pritas Tad Sandesha Gatasmiti. Shukadev Goswami said, the Brajastriya, the gopis of Vrindavan, were very pleased to hear this message from their dear most beloved Krishna, Priyatama. Prita. Prita tat sandesh agata. Hearing that message, Prita, the gopis became pleased. Agata smriti. And their smriti returned. Smriti really means spurti. Smriti means spurti, actually. So, Smriti Nitya Samyog Anusandhana. Smriti, memory, means the anusandana, the discovery of their eternal nitya samyog. So, therefore, pritaha, the gopis felt overjoyed. Itaha param. Now, Jiva Goswami is saying in Krishna Sandarbha, Itaha param. He's saying from that moment onwards, after hearing the message, the sandesh from Sri Krishna, then from that moment, the gopis, they experienced sometimes being with Krishna in the Nitya Lila, and they were fully satisfied. And then sometimes they found themselves back in the Prakat Lila, and then they were weeping. And then again, they would go into the Aprakat Lila, and they continued to oscillate. Gopis were oscillating between the Prakat Lila and the Aprakat Lila. This was the result of Krishna's Sandesh. Very amazing. So before they were suffering so much with occasional spurtis, but now they heard the message of Krishna, they realized and became overjoyed of the experience of the Aprakat Lila, and then they would come back. And from that day, Itapara means from that moment of hearing the message, gopis lived past their days oscillating between the Aprakat Lila and the Prakat Lila. Like this. And this continued until after Krishna came and killed Dantavakra in Mathura, then crossed the Jamuna in his chariot, and then he came and met with all Brijbasis. Jayati Janani Vaso Devaki Janmavado Yadubara Parishatsvai Dobirasana Dharmam Stirachara Brijinagna Suspita Srimukena Brajapura Vanitanam Kadayan Kamadevam. Brajapura Vanitanam Vadiyan Kamadevam. He's always increasing the love of the Brijbasis. And this verse is actually sung by Brijbasis when Krishna came back. It's their grand union, ecstatic union. And so the Braj Gopis, they oscillated between the Prakat and Aprakat Lila until when Krishna returned, and then they oscillated into the Aprakat Lila, and they stayed there forever. And people in this world say, oh, where did Krishna and all the Brijbasis go? But they themselves don't know anything. They don't. They don't understand themselves. Only their ecstatic lila is going on. So these are some of the very beautiful points, the hidden secrets of Srimad Bhagavatam that have been revealed by Srila Jiva Goswami in Krishna Sandarbha. So there are many, many other jewels, but we're just opening the box a little bit. But we don't have so much time. So tomorrow we're going to begin Bhakti Sandarbha. Jai. Bale Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Varasani Wali ki jai, Jai Jai Sri Radhe. Shah Gaur Premanande. So we only have one day of the festival left with 2 Sandarbhas. So we'll discuss Bhakti Sandarbha in the morning and Preeti Sandarbha in the evening class. Jai. So Pujari, be ready. Please blow the conch. We're invited by Prauda Maya to go to the Navadip Mayapur Yoga Beach. All the devatas have assembled in the sky to behold the Gora Arti. That is the last of the Sandarbhas on Sambandha Gyan. So tomorrow we'll begin Abhideya Tattva, Bhakti Sandarbha, and then Prayojan Tattva in the evening. Jiva Jayo, Bhakti Rakshak Shiradev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Bhakti Pragyan Kesh Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Sri Bhakti Stan Sartakar Jagat Vishnu Bhava ki jai. Mahabhava Bhavash Moksha Ras Bhagavad ki jai. Satyam Goswami Sutran Thakur ki jai. Gauri Murwa ki jai. Jai Sri Rup Sanatana Bhakti Guna. Sri Gopal Bhakti Rasamrasa Goswami ki jai. Praise goes to Chaitanya Bhavanityananda Shadwaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Bhajamanda ki jai. Shri Mandam Jagannath Pradam ki jai. Bhavana Vrindavana Kashi Ramani Mapadam ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Gopinath Madan Bhaju ki jai. Shri Kari Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Amir Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Mariswasas Vrishabhana Dini Smadhyana ki jai. Sai Gaura Premanandi.